Defensive magic is the most basic form of sorcery, first taught to children when they begin learning. As they grow older, most awaken their natural attributes such as fire, water, wind, or earth, and everyone looks forward to the moment their true powers appear. However, there is one boy who is different. Reese can only use defensive magic and has no attribute of his own. People mock him, calling his magic childish, but he isn't deterred and secretly vows to one day change the world with it. Years go by and Reese grows into a young man, but his mischievous streak grows right along with him. One afternoon, a young lady cries out in the street, blaming him for flipping her skirt, and in an instant, three boys charge after him. By the time they blink, he is gone, and when they finally spot him again, he is lounging casually on a rooftop, grinning down at them like a cat who has stolen the cream. The chase that follows could be a comedy. Reese skips across rooftops while the boys trip over everything in sight. Reese even nudges a drum into their path, and with a perfect bounce, it sends them straight into the canal. Despite this, they continue looking for him. When they turn into a narrow street, they find a girl. She is Elliot, his younger sister, already too familiar with the trouble her brother likes to cause. One of the boys tries to yank her along, but before he can move, a barrier flashes into existence and slams him backward. Reese steps forward, eyes burning with anger, and for once his joking nature vanishes. He stands firmly in front of his sister, protective and unyielding. The boys regroup and prevent him from escaping. The largest of them snarls that he will roast Reese with fire, and another mocks that he will drown him with water. They know that Reese's mana-hungry magic barrier won't last for long. Reese tells them to come at him all at once, determined to take them head-on. Elliot trembles beside him, yet her brother looks ready for war. The boys ready their magic, when suddenly a powerful gust of wind blasts them off their feet. They stand stunned, wondering what just happened. From the distance, a clear and commanding voice cuts through the tension. Elliot's face lights up with relief as she recognizes who it is. It is Alfie. The three bullies freeze instantly as they recognize the student council president. They claim they only followed the young lady's orders, but Alfie ignores them, stepping forward to declare Reese his childhood friend whom no one may harm. His words hit like steel, and for once the bullies grit their teeth. Their pride stung, and decide to attack Alfie as well. But with a single movement of his hand, flames roar to life in front of him, forcing them to stagger back in shock. Alfie's calm voice doesn't waver as he warns that if they dare to advance again, he will drown them with water, bury them under stone, or scatter them into the sky with the wind. The boys stare in shock, unable to grasp how Alfie commands all four elements. He stands tall, a prodigy destined to be hailed as a future hero. The bullies whisper frantically, fear spreading across their faces. Alfie smirks and warns them that his left hand is already out of control. If they don't leave now, his next fire spell will incinerate the entire street. The quiet menace in his tone is enough to leave them trembling. Just then, the young lady herself storms onto the scene, furious at the delay. Her tone changes completely when she sees Alfie. With a sweet smile, she asks if the boys troubled him. She even invites him to the upcoming banquet. However, her true nature is revealed when she sees Reese. Her smile drops and she tells Alfie that he should find better friends. She mocks Reese, calling him talentless and unworthy. Alfie cuts her off, declaring she has no right to judge his friends. With a cold gaze, he orders her to leave. Furious and embarrassed, she storms away with her lackeys. Before leaving, the bulky boy glares at Reese and warns him that Alfie cannot protect him forever. Reese glares back coldly and replies, "Alfie saved them, not the other way around." As the air settles, Alfie sighs with relief. Reese teases him about his embarrassing words, but Alfie glares back, asking what trouble he caused this time. Reese grins and explains that it all began when he was helping younger children practice defensive magic. While showing them a trick, the young lady's lackey started mocking him. Then, with a playful smirk, he demonstrated his ultimate skirt-flipping skills. Alfie and Elliot glare at Reese in anger, scolding him for always causing trouble. Unfazed, Reese retorts that he never asked Alfie to step in. Reese's grin fades when a middle-aged man approaches, apologizing for intruding. He watched the fight and mentions the rumors of Alfie wielding all four attributes. Reese eyes him warily, wondering what he wants. But Elliot reminds him that it's none of their business. Talent like Alfie's always draws the wealthy. Reese chuckles, admitting she has a point. Most are born with one attribute, and two are rare. Yet Alfie holds all four, gifted with intellect, composure, and skill. Rumors say he spoke days after birth. He is the typical village genius. Girls chase him for his looks, and even the village chief praises his ideas. He is the complete opposite of our local troublemaker. Reese listens quietly, uneasy, as Elliot wishes he were more serious like Alfie. She reminds him she helps their father while he wastes time. Her scolding cuts deep, and Reese mutters that her words feel like knives. Elliot corners Reese, asking why he snuck into Hades' forest. Stunned, he realizes she found out from her friend's sister. He mutters she played her hand well, but she sternly reminds him their teacher forbade it, since demon beasts roam there. Reese gently pats her head, insisting he only stays near the forest's edge, but when she presses, he admits the truth. He seeks a rare mushroom prized by nobles for its supposed vigor and high price. Elliot bursts in anger, scolding her brother for his reckless risk. Later, Alfie arrives at Reese's home. He brings news that scouts from the capital will soon be visiting their village. Reese lounges lazily in his chair, showing little interest, while Elliot busies herself in the kitchen. She wonders aloud if Alfie will be staying for dinner. Alfie smiles at her diligence and thanks her when she offers to make him tea. Reese, however, tosses a pot into Alfie's lap and tells him to lend a hand with shelling if he's planning to sit around. As they work together, Alfie begins to speak of the genius school of magic, which is famed for selecting only the most extraordinary talents. Every great mage who accomplished something remarkable once studied there, and to this day it stands among the most prestigious institutions in the world. Reese leans back in his chair, unimpressed. Alfie studies him, questioning if expectations ever burden him. Reese only laughs, saying, "Competing with geniuses is a dream far beyond his reach." Alfie senses sarcasm, but Reese just shrugs, used to being seen as talentless. Changing the subject, Alfie says the Genius School of Magic opens in a month and he'll leave next week to prepare. On his way out, he gives a final farewell. Reese waves him off lightly, wishing him well as if releasing a thread he never truly held. Reese smirks, half admitting he might have played some part in it. Placing pods in a pan, his thoughts drift toward a new thrill to stir the calm waters of his life. A week later, Wellius waits by the carriage for the trip to the capital. Alfie arrives, ready, and he urges him to hurry so they can depart. Elsewhere, Reese looks to the horizon, murmuring that Alfie must be gone. Rather than take the week-long safe route, he boldly enters the edge of Hades' forest. Inside the carriage, Alfie sits quietly. Wellius tries to lighten the mood, teasing that perhaps Alfie is sad about leaving his hometown behind. Alfie chuckles softly and replies there is someone in town he has never once defeated in a match. Wellius stares in disbelief. A genius who wields all 4 attributes flawlessly, losing to someone? He blurts out a guess. Perhaps Alfie is speaking of a girl he likes. Alfie only laughs and shakes his head. He explains since childhood, there has always been one boy who bested him in everything. At that same moment, deep within Hades' forest, Reese pushes through thickets when a monstrous beast lunges from behind, fangs bared. In the carriage, Alfie reflects that in another world, Reese could be a true hero. But here fate binds him to an ordinary village, and his secrets remain undiscovered. Wellius listens wide-eyed. Alfie turns away, deciding that soon he will grow stronger at the academy and finally surpass Reese. Reese pushes through thick bushes to a colossal ancient tree, where a small wooden door rests at its roots. Knocking softly, he calls out to someone he calls Grandma. Before he can finish, the door shudders violently as though struck from within. Reese raises an arm to shield himself, realizing this is hardly the moment for polite greetings. The door bursts open, and out springs a wild, barely clothed girl. With startling speed, she kicks Reese in the face, mocking that it's her joy and he should stop coming if he dislikes it. Reese scolds her as immature, saying everyone would freeze if she suddenly appeared naked. She tilts her head, eyes glinting with mischief, and teasingly asks if Reese has been tempted by her beauty. Reese only scoffs, retorting that he prefers curvier women. She huffs, accusing him of teasing her while she bathes, then finally demands to know why he came and what that souvenir is. With a dead beast behind him, he confidently declares it's time to show the world defensive magic like never before. Granny sits on Reese's back, carrying a strange magical tool while he does push-ups. Elsewhere, Alfie drifts into memory, recalling the moment he first realized he had been reincarnated. In his previous life on Earth, he had been an ordinary man, always buried in light novels on the phone, and the idea of other worlds had been nothing but stories. Only after waking here did he truly accept that magic and reincarnation were real. Even so, mastering all 4 elemental attributes was something no one in this world had done before, and with a wry smile, Alfie admits that despite his cheat powers, Reese always bested him. Humbled yet driven, he knows he must leave for the royal capital and join the famed magic academy to one day surpass him. Meanwhile, in the forest, two men chop wood. One man looks up as something whooshes above. His companion calls it imagination, unaware that high above the treetops, Reese and Granny are streaking through the air. Granny cackles that they could never fly without her tool, while Reese grumbles that he feels like a pack animal. She smacks him with her gadget, scolding his ingratitude. Granny points to the road below, and Reese notes a carriage would take a week to reach the capital. She proudly says they'll arrive in under half a day, then later asks if mocking his family was really the right farewell. Reese makes his farewell in his own way, strolling into the house and loudly declaring at the doorway that he is leaving for the royal capital to attend school and will be living there for a long time. His family stare in shock as Reese slips away despite his father's call. Elliot bursts out, finds him gone, vows to teach him a lesson, shouting she'll chew him into pieces, while Reese grins over his shoulder and promises to bring back plenty of goodies. Not long after, the royal capital comes into view, broad and grand, ringed by a wide canal. Granny recalls him to land out of the city, and Reese's breath catches at the sight. Entering the capital, Reese is awed by towering buildings and bustling crowds, mistaking it for a festival before realizing it's everyday city life. Granny, however, fixates on the food stalls, mouth-watering, and Reese smirks, teasing that she hasn't changed. She coughs awkwardly and snaps back, reminding him to focus on the real reason they came here. Their path leads them to the doorstep of the Genius School of Magic. He pauses at the massive enchanted gate, but Granny quickly asks how he plans to support himself in the city. Reese answers that he already sold 3 demon bears to the Hunter Guild. The staff there had been stunned to see the corpses, hardly able to believe one person had taken them down alone. Granny sharply says no one could defeat a demon bear alone, then dismisses it and demands his plan for entering the academy. Reese chuckles that she knows his dream, to prove the worth of mocked defensive magic, even if it means breaking into the school, defeating the principal, and forcing acceptance. Granny collapses laughing until she coughs. When he asks why she's laughing so hard, she smacks him with her stick and says she's mocking his absurd plan. If he dares do something illegal here, he will surely be caught. She advises him to face her pupil first, warning his inexperience would leave him no chance. Reese frowns, asking if she truly knows the headmaster. Granny smiles, saying she hasn't wandered idly. She travels as a messenger and has connections. Reese is stunned that the prestigious headmaster knows her personally. For a moment, he reflects on their long history together. He first met Granny as a child when she saved him in the forest. She called herself a wise hermit who had lived there for over 100 years, obsessed with defensive magic. From then on, she took him under her wing, training him relentlessly and teaching all she knew. Yet he still hesitates to call her master, her laid-back ways making her seem more a mischievous guardian than a strict teacher. Granny eventually hands him a letter and tells him to give it to the headmaster. Reese raises an eyebrow and asks why she came along if a simple letter was all it took. Granny grins and admits she came just to enjoy the sweets of the capital, then strolls off without concern, leaving him to handle things alone. Not long after, Reese presents the wax-sealed letter to the guards. He and Granny are escorted to the headmaster's chamber, where they meet Dist Huberg, an elf with an air of quiet wisdom. The headmaster greets them warmly, offering pastries and tea. Reese digs in with enthusiasm, while Dist remarks that he has already read the letter from the old master. He asks if Reese is her pupil, and Granny's knowing smile answers. Reese wonders about her true age when Dist remarks her handwriting is as messy as ever. Then Reese eagerly leans forward to ask if he's officially enrolled. Dist chuckles and says Reese must first pass a practical exam. Stretching his arms, Reese prepares as the headmaster summons Zest Sinai, a restless, irritated middle-aged man dragged from vacation to oversee the test. Zest mutters he'll judge as he pleases, but Dist firmly reminds him this is no prank. Placing a reassuring hand on Zest's shoulder, Dist turns to Reese and asks what exactly he is doing. Reese casually replies that he is stretching. Dist blinks in surprise, recalling how he once saw soldiers in the barracks perform similar warm-ups. For a moment, he even wonders if magicians might benefit from the same practice. Granny's old habit of stretching before every fight flickers through his memory, and he decides on the spot that perhaps it should be added into the school's training routine. Reese, watching this, mutter, the headmaster might actually be Granny's student. A lady mocks Reese as a commoner, asking how long he'll waste her time. He laughs, ready yet excited under their gaze. Dist explains it's a mock battle against Hiraya-sensei, with Zest grading him and no expulsion if he loses. At Dist's signal, the battle begins. Hiraya obeys the headmaster but with disdain, scoffing that a commoner like him has entered the genius school of magic. Without hesitation, she fires a blazing flame bullet at him. Zest protests that a teacher should wait for a magic circle, but Dist shrugs, noting Hiraya's aristocratic ways. When smoke clears, Reese stands calmly behind a shimmering barrier. Hiraya's eyes narrow as she admits it is impressive he blocked her attack, but she quickly raises her voice, accusing him of mocking the school. This academy, she declares, is a place where only the most exceptional bloodlines produce the best talent over generations. She announces that a commoner like him is unworthy and disqualified. Calmly, Reese asks why nobles look down on commoners, fueling Hiraya's anger. She fires a blazing flame arrow, which he deflects, and her expression falters. She asks if defensive magic is all he can use, but he just grins. Glowering, she warns him and casts the great flame ball. Zest panics, noting Reese's barrier drains energy, but Dist assures he'll heal him if needed. The fireball crashes, yet Reese stands firm. A faint smile plays across his face, and Hiraya actually looks shaken. Zest himself stares in awe, whispering that he has never seen a barrier withstand something of that scale. And according to Granny's letter, Reese is supposed to use only defensive magic, nothing more. Dist realizes this boy might be far more precious than anyone suspected. Hiraya, however, refuses to believe it. She shouts that it is impossible, accusing Reese of fraud, insisting no beginner's magic should have such strength. Reese answers calmly, almost cheekily, saying he means no disrespect. But honestly, this exam feels easier than he expected. That single remark sets her temper ablaze. Her magic flares wildly as she begins casting her ultimate spell, flames expanding outward to cover the entire arena in burning light. Zest stiffens the moment Hiraya begins chanting, recognizing the danger. A storm of 20 flame arrows burst forth, each laced with an intricate circle structure. Unlike before, the flame spear carries a sharp, penetrating force, weaker than the great flame ball but far more lethal against barriers. Zest warns the headmaster that the boy can't withstand such magic and might be killed, even beyond his skills. Dist stays calm, reminding him the boy is the pupil of a great wise woman, leaving Zest struggling to grasp how she could choose him. Granny never valued Dist's abilities, offering only minor advice. Dist assures Reese's safety, seeing this as a chance to witness Granny's secrets. Zest swallows hard as Dist watches Reese intently. On the battlefield, Reese exhales softly. He admits to himself that he might have gone too far teasing Hiraya, and defending against her endless flames is becoming troublesome. Yet a sly smirk creeps across his face. As Hiraya's spell launches forward, Reese thrusts his hand outward and delivers a blow to her. Both Zest and Dist get very amazed on watching a huge smash. The story then shifts to the first day of the new school term. The headmaster greets the gathered students warmly. Alfie beams with pride, thinking to himself that he is finally an official student of the prestigious academy. The headmaster continues, declaring that the teachers here are the finest in the land. He gestures to Wellius, who downplays his skills, though the headmaster jokes the school wouldn't be worth attending without him. His gaze then shifts to Hiraya, noting she seems shattered in pride. Alfie frowns, hoping it's not about him, but his hope shatters as the headmaster announces the top scorer, Reese. Striding to the stage, Reese admits he didn't ace the exam, but declares his dream to become the strongest mage, using defensive magic to conquer the world. Alfie groans, burying his face in his hands, regretting having found him. One day, Alfie corners Reese against the wall, his face twisted in anger. Reese casually slips his hands into his pockets and laughs. Alfie spits out his question, demanding to know how Reese managed to get into the school. Reese calmly recounts how he came there. Alfie scowls and, noting Reese's advantages like a late exam, leniency, and perfect score. He mutters about cheating, and Reese retorts, recalling the ridiculous entrance ceremony declaration. Reese proudly confirms. Alfie whispers to Reese that he definitely made most of the folks his enemy. He laughs loud enough to make Alfie wince, and that laugh stabs directly into his pride. Pointing to himself, Alfie declares himself Reese's enemy, no longer a friend, and vows to target him after defeating Kadena Fire. Reese, curious, asks who Kadena is, and Alfie explains she ranked just below him and would have topped the exam if not for Reese. Kadena, a beautiful young lady with outstanding talent, was naturally placed in the noble class. She has the pride of a lifelong top student, but now her dream has been shattered by Reese's unexpected victory. Sure enough, when Kadena approaches Reese, she rudely glares at Reese. However, he is too busy teasing Alfie to care. Later, on the training grounds, Zest steps forward and introduces himself as the instructor of the noble class. Reese raises his brows in surprise while Kadena asks why this position wasn't given to Urea. Zest admits the duty was originally hers. Reese mutters that Urea likely had a breakdown, while Alfie whispers someone here is destined for an early grave. Kadena watches Reese warily, suspecting if he caused it. To ease tension, Zest places a crystal sphere on the table to measure magic power. Touching it reveals one's internal source and innate strength. He demonstrates, then explains the external source. Ambient magic mages can absorb to replenish reserves, though training only speeds absorption, not maximum power, making this a world of talents. Students line up one by one and continue measurements. A boy from the noble Ramos family, Bartza Amos, reveals strong earth attributes. Next, Kadena steps forward, her crystal shining brilliantly, marking her as an exceptional wielder of wind magic. Then Alfie presses his hand against the sphere. Instantly, the hall fills with dazzling rays like the sun itself. Zest declares this is the first time he's ever seen someone capable of wielding all attributes. Finally, Reese volunteers. Zest, suspicious, allows it. Reese touches the crystal. Nothing. Silence falls as even Zest wonders how a boy who crushed Urea could show no power. The thought gnaws at him. He remembers questioning the headmaster earlier about why Zest was assigned to the noble class. Dist had explained that Urea couldn't be trusted with someone in such a fragile condition, and, more importantly, he wanted Zest's own evaluation of Reese. Zest worries that a talentless fraud atop the school would ruin its reputation. Barca Amos sneers, mocking Reese for ranking first as a worthless commoner, and tells him to go home before more humiliation. Reese glares sharply. Reese ignores him, staring at the crystal like the one in Granny's hut. Light bursts forth, a blinding stream that makes students shield their eyes as gasps ripple through the hall. Zest freezes in shock, wondering how such a sudden rise in magic power could even be possible. In the capital, Granny delights in a massive parfait, savoring every bite with gleaming eyes. Dist, embarrassed, notes it's too much for one, but Granny refuses to share, claiming she has nothing for him. Dist sighs behind his teacup, noting it's been too long since he shared tea with his old master. Granny chuckles he could wait 10 or 20 more years, and Dist coldly admits she hasn't changed. At the training grounds, Kadena launches a wind spike, earning Zest's praise. Another boy's power is strong but fails to crack the reinforced target. Zest explains that most teachers couldn't break it and announces the next phase, testing raw magical force with their strongest spells. Naturally, all eyes turn to the top student, and Zest calls Reese forward. Reese shrugs and steps into place while Zest narrows his eyes, suspicious that the boy will try something strange again. Elsewhere, Granny asks Dist how he tracked her down. He explains the gatekeeper remembered her traveling with a boy. Granny then asks if he truly values Reese or if it's mere curiosity. Dist replies with a serious face that Reese shocked everyone when he broke Urea's strength, even destroying a stone wall with nothing more than a clap. His movements, his magic, even his breathing were impossible to sense for average magicians. That proved he wasn't ordinary. Dist admits he wants to know more, but Granny only smiles, noting he's finally shown genuine personality. On the training field, Reese throws a spell, Casting Reflection, the most demanding of all defensive magic, the kind of spell that should be impossible to maintain with bare hands. Yet here stands Reese, pouring all of his pride and defiance into it. For years this magic had been mocked as useless, but now he casts it with the weight of every insult ever thrown at him. Light erupts like a storm, shattering the wall behind the target. Silence falls. Zest mutters in awe at the highest magic density he's seen, held with bare hands, a pupil chosen by the great wise woman herself. In the capital, Granny wipes her spoon clean and smugly refuses Dist again, telling him there are no shortcuts in the search for knowledge. She suddenly asks if he still considers himself a magician, and when he apologizes for prying, she smirks and tells him to watch closely, for her pupil is only beginning to reveal his true strength. At the arena battlefield, Reese stands before Latos Gnork, the eldest of the Gnork house, with a large crowd watching. Reese is calm while Latos prepares for the fight, and the air feels full of excitement for a legendary duel. A few days earlier, Reese ate in the cafeteria with suspicious delight, as if starved for good food. Alfie approached, frowning, and questioned how he could afford tuition and admission. Reese casually explained that he had earned the money by selling spoils of his hunts to the Hunter Guild. Alfie, uneasy, raised a wind barrier, as Reese explained the 3 hunts and the wild demon bear came from Head Forest. Doubting it, Alfie asked how Reese brought them into the city. Reese then displayed a necklace hanging at his chest. At the sight of it, Alfie froze and realized it was a storage box. At the departure celebration, Reese was given this storage box as a parting gift by Granny. He explained to Alfie that its capacity was more than one warehouse house, making it highly valuable. Alfie immediately assumed that this was why Reese had filled it with 3 demon bears. While eating, Reese noticed noise outside and wondered what was happening. Alfie explained he contained the disturbance with a wind barrier, caused by his own mistakes. Outside, Latos fired aqua bullets repeatedly, and Academy staff arrived. Reese suggested leaving quietly, but Alfie said it was too late. The staff member assigned duty to Zest to investigate the matter. Zest noticed Reese acting strangely and suspected him. Alfie glared at Reese, and Zest demanded an explanation. Reese pointed at Alfie, who then pointed to a blue-haired figure as the real culprit. Latos stepped forward, annoyed, clarifying his hair wasn't blue and identifying himself as the eldest Ganoarch son. Zest explained that the Ganoarchs were a prestigious family skilled in water magic. He recounted how the conflict began around lunch break, when one of the Ganoarch cronies tried to cut the cafeteria line, pushing Latos to the front. Reese had taken offense and shoved the boy back, escalating the matter until both sides clashed. Latos, insulted by being forced behind, refused to queue like commoners. Enraged when a wind wall blocked him, he began firing magical attacks, leading to the current confrontation. At the academy, Zest reminded everyone that all students were treated the same, no matter their family background, which meant Latos was in the wrong. Zest decided to punish both Reese and Latos, but he got confused. He then said one of them must still be punished, but he could not decide who was truly at fault. Zest then asked if any of them had a suggestion. Without hesitation, Latos pointed at Reese and challenged him to a duel to settle the matter. Alfie was shocked, thinking Latos had just invited his own downfall. Reese only smiled as if the idea amused him. The next day, Reese and Alfie stood outside, knowing duels required teacher approval through the academy's system. Reese was annoyed at waiting for the arena, while Alfie expected the campus to watch if Reese could prove his entrance trial claim. Alfie had told Latos that Reese was top, but Latos only laughed. He confirmed the battle, boldly claiming he would defeat Reese and rise to the noble class, mocking Reese's defensive magic and insisting he could never win. Now Alfie tells Reese that he has been asked to serve as a commentator for the match. Normally this job belongs to a teacher, but somehow he got the role. Reese mentions it means he can go all out in explaining and making them acknowledge defensive magic as Reese's life objective. The day of the battle finally arrives. A lady announces that the first fight of the year is about to begin. Alfie, standing nearby, jokes that the huge crowd makes it feel more like a festival than a duel, except the festival highlight will be Reese's humiliation. The announcer introduces herself as Saradona Maxi, reporting live, and declares that Reese's best friend Alfie will be serving as commentator. Saradona asks Alfie to explain the events leading up to the duel. Alfie simply replies that a blue-haired guy challenged Reese, and Reese responded, "That's all the crowd needs to know." Saradona cheers for both fighters as the containment zone activates. She announces the stage is ready, though the headmaster corrects her, calling it the official Dream Realm. Within this realm, physical events transform into dreamlike simulations. Any injuries sustained vanish once the realm deactivates. Saradona adds that the headmaster himself supervises, a gesture meant to inspire the students on the first match of the year. Alfie explains that Zest was originally assigned to supervise, but he declines, preferring to watch the duel up close. Sitting nearby, Kadena appears lost in thought, eyes fixed on the stage. Before the fight begins, Saradona outlines the rules. Victory comes if a fighter forces their opponent to surrender or renders them unable to continue, meaning removal from the stage. Using magical equipment without a permit is strictly prohibited. Dist reminds Reese that his full pressure cannon is forbidden, and Reese nods. At the headmaster's signal, the duel begins. Latos wastes no time, launching a relentless barrage of aqua bullets in a Gatling-style attack. Reese stands firm, forming a glowing barrier that effortlessly blocks each projectile. Saradona comments that the audience came to see powerful offensive magic, not someone hiding behind defenses, laughing at the notion that a defensive-only mage could even attend the academy. She turns to Alfie, asking if Reese truly relies solely on defensive magic despite being the top student. Alfie explains sharply that defensive magic is generally undervalued due to inefficiency. Attribute magic unleashes power directly, while defensive spells must solidify that energy into barriers, meaning what one unit of energy accomplishes for an offensive spell requires 3 or 4 for defense. Defensive magic is simple, taught to kids for self-protection. Alfie grins. Reese is still playing the recorder while others compose symphonies. He laughs, remarking that Reese has no common sense for choosing such a strategy. Latos casts a double spell, launching a water grenade at Reese. Reese's barrier holds firm against the explosion, drawing gasps from the arena. Saradona leans forward, eyes wide. She has never seen a barrier strong enough to withstand such an attack. Lowering her voice as if sharing a secret, she suggests that Reese might be revealing an extraordinary power. Dist studies the scene, questioning if it is part of Reese's plan, noting he has seen defensive magic before but never like this. Reese explains the shape of the barrier, speculating it is a honeycomb structure. Alfie confirms. Reese stacks hundreds of barrier panels into hexagonal formations, a design that absorbs impacts and reduces the energy needed to maintain the shield to a quarter of normal. The audience reacts with awe, and Dis smiles, saying the mystery of defensive magic is finally solved. Alfie admits he should have recognized it sooner, and explains that even a great barrier requires a magic circle, but Reese's speed makes him exceptional. A voice from the crowd mocks Reese. He spins sharply, ordering them to call him cool instead. Laughter and murmurs ripple through the arena. Alfie mutters that Reese's peculiar personality is why defensive magic remains doubted. Latos calls out, retracting his earlier skepticism, asserting that while defensive magic might pass exams, duels are different. He fires a wave of water balls, but Reese blocks every attack with ease. Latos's disbelief grows. He realizes that as long as Reese's defenses hold, he cannot be defeated. Saradona shouts, energized, noting that Reese is not merely defending, he is dominating the duel. Latos sneers, insisting Reese can never harm him. Reese smirks and dashes forward, low and cutting, taunting Latos for underestimating defense as offense. He bypasses the water balls, striking Latos's chest with a glowing barrier gauntlet. The first blow has no effect. Sensing a hidden resistance, Reese strikes again, cracking the surface before shattering the shield. Latos staggers, fear flashing in his eyes. Reese readies another strike. In panic, Latos unleashes a stream of water, which Reese dodges effortlessly, moving in circles at a speed that stuns the crowd. Saradona gasps, recognizing another specialized technique, and glances at Alfie. Calmly, Alfie explains it is no trick. The power comes purely from Reese's legs. As the shield breaks, Reese gets a shock to see the breast. Granny stands on the arena wall, her cloak touching the stone. She smiles proudly, seeing Reese in the center with everyone watching. Then her face changes, feeling something is wrong. Down in the field, Reese suddenly freezes. His eyes widen at the sight of Latos's chest plate shifting oddly, and he blurts out that this is foul play. With mock seriousness, he declares that smuggling such a weapon is unfair, especially one shaped like a battering ram. Latos fires another spell. A burst of water magic streaks forward, and Reese flips back with quick reflexes, planting his feet and raising a barrier in time to block the impact. The crowd gasps at the magic clash. Saradona's voice cuts through, saying the tide has turned again, as Reese's movements slow. Latos grins and calls out that Reese cannot run this time. He claims he has not been blindly firing magic, and suddenly aqua bullets appear all around, surrounding Reese like a ring of glowing drops. Reese looks from side to side, unsure for a moment, while the audience leans in to see what happens next. Latos boasts no shield protecting all sides. Saradona spots the trick, announcing to the crowd that Latos's water spells pool around Reese, forming a trap, not just an attack. The crowd murmurs, impressed by the strategy. Reese lifts his hand and forms a wide, spherical barrier around himself. He sneers at Latos through the glow, and the noble's confident look falters. Alfie scratches his head in confusion, but Saradona quickly explains that although the shape is different, the barrier still carries the honeycomb pattern. Zest blinks, then narrows his eyes, sensing something off. Dist, nearby, agrees, muttering that Latos's magic seems too strong. He covers his mouth, wondering if someone's using a hidden tool to meddle in the fight. Reese frowns inside the barrier, muttering that the situation is strange. He keeps glancing at the headmaster, trying to signal that the fight cannot continue like this. Dist notices and gestures back, reminding him of the dream realm, the very space holding the duel. Alfie looks around, lost. He sees no problem with the stage and cannot understand why Reese looks unsettled. In truth, the headmaster has already adjusted the dream realm from the moment Lotos's breastplate slipped away. He took over as supervisor on purpose, knowing more about the real state of Lotus than anyone else. Zest shoots him a cold stare, but the headmaster remains calm. Dist knows the duel is risky, but believes students must show their full power. He vowed to protect them, yet wants to see their true potential. Reese glances at Dist with one eye, whispering if this much is allowed. Then, with his usual odd humor, he mutters that it is hard to focus when Lotos's chestplate keeps drawing attention. Meanwhile, Lotos steadies himself, sweat on his brow. He fixes his eyes on Reese's shield and notices a weak spot forming at one edge. Gathering his strength, he casts a howling stream directly at it. The blast tears through, sending Reese flying back across the field. He whispers that such power is strange because even in the entrance exam he could not pull off this kind of spell. Reese stiffens as another howling stream barrels toward him. The roar of water shakes the arena, and Zest's eyes widen. This level of advanced water control is a mark of the Ganoark family, the very power that makes them famous. Lotos grins coldly, shaping the water into a dragonic wave. The shimmering beast rises above him as he sneers that Reese's barrier is nothing but decoration and that he will crush him with force that cannot be blocked. The tension climbs, the crowd leaning forward, knowing the moment of decision is near. The dragon wave crashes forward, and Reese realizes he cannot hold ground if he remains pinned in the air. With a sharp breath, he flashes the reflection technique, his figure bending like light and shifting position in an instant. Lotos scoffs and shouts that such tricks will not save him. But in a blur, Reese reappears behind him, his movements sharp as lightning. Gasps ripple through the stands. Saradona stumbles over her words, and the crowd explodes with surprise at his speed. Dist leans forward, murmuring that this reflection move never appeared in Reese's exam. He wonders if the boy can truly glide through the sky in any direction, though such mastery must have come at the cost of countless painful falls. His voice lowers in respect as he whispers that Granny really is remarkable. Up on the wall, Granny munches a cookie and smirks at the sight. She remembers the first time Reese crash-landed in the Hades forest while practicing that very move. Compared to her merciless training, those falls were nothing, and she knows the boy has been practicing from the start. Alfie presses his lips together, his eyes locked on the fight. He has no time to tease Reese, not while the dragon wave still rages and the outcome remains undecided. Reese steadies himself, sneering as he rushes forward to deliver what could be the final blow. But halfway through, his eyes flicker once again toward the exaggerated curve of Lotos's chest plate. He freezes for a heartbeat, muttering that no one could expect him to be reasonable in front of such a distraction. He shakes his head at his own thoughts and wonders if he really has to leap against that battering ram. He steps forward anyway, preparing reflection. Again, but the headmaster suddenly calls out, warning him. Reese ignores the hesitation and channels everything into a single spell. A massive magic cannon roars from his hands, striking Lotos head-on and hurling him back. Reese's chest tightens, fearing Lotos's fall could expose the mountains beyond the barrier. The headmaster swiftly stabilizes the dream realm. Reese exhales, recalling that here, real events become dreamlike illusions. Lotos collapses, eyes closed. Saradona raises her voice, declaring him unable to continue. The arena erupts as she announces the winner, Reese Lovis. Dist strokes his chin, remarking that this cannon magic can be passed off as a different type of spell. Reese simply raises his hand in quiet victory. Granny laughs on the wall, joking that her student's distraction by a girl's chest shows she didn't train him hard enough. Saradona shakes her head, telling Alfie she cannot figure out the ending at all. She wonders aloud if it was equipment malfunction or something else entirely. Qualians pats Alfie on the shoulder, reminding him that his own match is up next. In the stands, a voice mutters that Reese truly is the top student, as he claimed. Kadena glares at a girl whispering shy admiration for Reese's performance. Reese is congratulated for his victory, while Lotos is also acknowledged for his determination. Faculty members lead Lotos out of the arena, and Saradona excites the crowd with the announcement of the next battle featuring Alfie-san. A short break begins as the stage is prepared once more. Near the stairs, Reese approaches the headmaster with curiosity about the mystery surrounding Lotos. Kadena passes by and notices their quiet exchange, while Dist arrives with documents in hand. He explains that Latos has been officially recognized as the next head of the Ganoark family, with no errors found in repeated verifications. Reese wonders about Latos' siblings, and Dist shares that there once was an elder brother who died in an accident 10 years ago, leaving behind only a younger sister. Reese's thoughts sharpen. It seems the younger sister is forced to assume the role of the elder brother. Dist remains composed, reminding Reese that some truths are difficult to grasp and best left unspoken. He insists that the secret must not be revealed. Reese accepts the weight of this and questions why Latos was allowed to enroll in the academy. Dist reflects that talent such as hers should not be wasted, and despite the circumstances, he could not turn her away. As a teacher, he carries that responsibility. His gaze then lingers on Reese, filled with expectation, for he holds many hopes for this pupil who continues to surprise him. As the duel preparations near completion, Reese departs. Dist, however, chuckles to himself, eager for the moment when Reese's true strength will shine again. Yet in that quiet, the headmaster's eyes harden. A strange intent stirs within him. He considers striking Reese from behind, prying open his secrets through force. His position restrains him, torn between duty and temptation. Just as his resolve sharpens, a sudden knock interrupts the silence. The visitor enters and Dist quickly takes charge, urging restraint and offering advice before the meeting can proceed. In the corridor, Reese reflects that the headmaster's murderous intent seemed to fade, perhaps born from anger over the magic cannon, though he himself had permitted its use. The thought lingers, but Reese moves on. Passing by a room, Reese finds Latos resting. He enters and offers a quiet apology. Latos drifts in troubled thought, burdened by family expectations, the pressure of the exam, and the role of heir. Though discouraged, determination still burns within him. Reese's voice draws him back, and he wakes abruptly, startled at first before composing himself. Reese assures him that the rest has been enough and notes that he remains uninjured. Latos reflects on the battle, realizing that his belief in his own superiority was shallow. The strength of defensive magic has humbled him, and he recognizes how immature he still is. Yet, pride remains. He refuses to see this as his end and vows that one day he will surpass Reese. Reese smiles at the thought of rivalry, while Latos extends a hand, offering both competition and friendship. Reese hesitates, distracted by the secret he now knows, yet accepts the gesture with a laugh. Both acknowledge the fun of their duel and the promise of more to come. Reese scratches his head, jokingly framing Latos as an opponent worth studying, while Latos responds with laughter, unaware of the secret thought Reese hides, that beneath the guise of air, she is in truth a girl. Their talk shifts to the punishment for losing. Latos accepts the burden of cleaning the vast schoolyard, noting that water magic makes such a task simple. Reese considers offering help but restrains himself, wary of suspicion. They both share a laugh before remembering that the next battle is about to begin. Saradona rallies the audience once more as Alfie steps forward, cheerful yet focused. His opponent, a glass-wearing boy, reveals himself through childish antics. Though his academic standing is strong, it is the same boy who once challenged Alfie in class. Determined, Alfie prepares to face him, while the boy holds tightly to a secret he claims to know. Elsewhere, Latos is seen chasing after Reese, frustration clear as Reese scrambles with apologies. The chase spills into the corridor where an unexpected presence emerges. Kadena steps forward, observing both Reese and Latos, before a girl stops Reese and introduces herself as Muriel Woodrow, a first-year student. Without hesitation, she takes Reese's hand and presses it against her chest, boldly declaring her interest in him. Reese is left stunned, frozen in disbelief. As Reese feels Muriel press against him, a strange sensation overwhelms him, soft and heavy, almost like being struck by a giant morning star. Before the moment lingers, Kadena steps in sharply, pulling Muriel away and scolding the scene. Her sudden interruption leaves both Reese and Latos stunned. Kadena insists this is not the proper way to confess, reminding that a woman should protect her dignity. Muriel, however, argues confidently, claiming that such an approach is a rational act, since it is well known that men are easily swayed by women's bodies. Latos is startled by her boldness, realizing Muriel carries a confidence she herself lacks. Kadena interprets Muriel's intent, allowing a man such liberties to ensure he falls in love. Muriel, unfazed, remains firm. Suddenly, Latos flicks magic at Reese's forehead, erasing the memory of that reckless touch as if it had never happened. Muriel then shifts the focus, praising Reese's duel and the abnormal power of his defensive magic. Lados mutters that her words carry an undertone, almost branding Reese as a pervert, while Kadina's patience snaps, calling Reese unworthy of any affection. Yet Muriel insists otherwise. In her eyes, Reese's defensive magic hides many secrets, and she desires to uncover them all. To her, becoming closer to him is the only way. Reese feels awkward, resisting the unwanted attention. Popularity of this kind is the last thing he wants. Meanwhile, in the arena, Alfie faces his opponent. The boy with glasses smirks with confidence, revealing dangerous knowledge. He knows of Alfie's reincarnation. Alfie recalls his early days in the royal capital when he discreetly sold recipes from his past life for income. The only way his opponent could know this truth is if he too carries memories of another life. Hatred flares in the boy, who blames Alfie for his misfortune and seeks to expose him as weak. The crowd grows tense as Saradona comments that such insults dishonor Alfie, whose victory they firmly believe in. Reese and Latos move aside to watch, though Muriel quietly trails behind. Kadina, skeptical, considers Alfie to be frail despite his ability to wield 4 attributes. She remembers that no one has actually witnessed it clearly, as the measuring device once broke during his test. Reese mutters that this duel will reveal their future hero's true potential. Kadina reflects on the rarity of 4 attributes. 2 marks promise, 3 signals a genius, but 4 has only ever belonged to legends. The girls roar, cheering Alfie's name. Reese got jealous and wishes for Alfie to face danger. Lados, curious, asks about their bond, but Reese simply states they are friends. Alfie suddenly glances at Reese and slightly laughs. The Dream Realm activates and the battle begins. Standard flames are hurled first, a customary test of strength. Alfie counters with water, then wind, then earth, each attack steady and precise. Saradona announces with excitement that the rumors of his 4 attributes are true, and even blurts marriage admiration for him. The audience gasps as the opponent escalates, projecting intermediate-level flame arrows with startling speed. Zest acknowledges his talent, but the boy's arrogance fuels him further. He proclaims that having multiple attributes means nothing without mastery, and he intends to expose Alfie as unskilled. The battle intensifies. Both duelists cancel out each other's spells, their magic clashing brilliantly. Alfie's opponent mocks him, accusing him of relying only on wind and not daring to flood the field with water. He laughs wildly, believing it impossible for Alfie to maintain projections across multiple attributes at once. But then, Alfie reveals something extraordinary. With a sudden shift, Alfie conjures a barrier of wind while simultaneously weaving fire, water, and earth into a restructured circle. The opponent falters, shocked by the precision. Wellius recognizes it instantly, a quadruple projection, a feat so complex it borders on the impossible. Saradona explains to the crowd that such technique requires immense speed and flawless accuracy. Memories flash of Alfie's earlier duel exams, where even then he displayed this overwhelming potential. Zest mutters that Alfie makes it look like child's play. Reese recalls a conversation with him, where Alfie compared the technique to writing multiple letters in different languages at the same time, each hand moving independently. The opponent trembles, fear creeping into his voice as denial takes over. He claims it is fake, that Alfie is deceiving everyone. But the reality stands firm before his eyes. Alfie's control is real, his talent undeniable. Pressured, the boy collapses, surrendering his pride and bowing in defeat. The arena erupts. Saradona declares Alfie the victor while Zest acknowledges the effort of his fallen opponent. Alfie, uncertain, wonders if he makes a blunder, yet the truth is clear. His brilliance has shaken the academy to its core. That day, 2 duels burned brighter than the rest, igniting fierce rivalry among students. In the corridor afterward, passing voices praise defensive magic, and Alfie stiffens with irritation. The next battle looms, and his gaze turns toward Reese Lovis. The next morning begins like always for Reese, who never skips his routine. But today he comes across something unusual. Muriel is lying near the footpath, seemingly senseless, and no one else is around. Reese is startled to see her so early. When he calls out, she stirs only faintly, whispering that she wants more sleep. For a moment, his gaze slips toward her chest, and his hand twitches instinctively, but he reins himself in, scolding himself to stay calm. Before he can dwell on it further, Alfie arrives, catching him in the act of hesitation. Their usual banter sparks, with Reese insisting on his innocence and Alfie mocking his weak excuses. Memories of old days resurface, of Reese's complaints about being single, and Alfie doesn't let the chance to tease slip by. Soon their playful words turn into challenge, and the square becomes their arena. Reese tries to keep it fair by forbidding magic, while Alfie agrees, pointing out the destruction it would cause if either of them unleashed spells. They clash with raw force, their kicks countering each other, blows flying in rhythm with their rivalry. Alfie laughs mid-fight, recalling how even Wellius once admitted that Reese was someone impossible to surpass. His words land heavier than his strikes, hinting at the respect hidden beneath rivalry. Reese, however, only stares oddly, uncertain of Alfie's sudden sincerity. The duel fizzles as quickly as it flares, and Alfie picks up his coat and leaves for the cafeteria. Muriel, who had been watching silently, suddenly rises. She confesses her strange ploy, to bait Reese by feigning vulnerability, hoping to provoke a desire she could later use as leverage. Yet her plan collapses when Reese never acts on impulse. Embarrassed, she admits defeat, leaving Reese unsettled by her audacity. Reese discovers Alfie's ticket, which he had dropped there. Soon after, the training grounds buzz with energy, with duels becoming the talk of the academy. Even after-class hours are crowded. Zest keeps the students in line, scolding anyone who treats practice lightly, reminding them that proper rest fuels magical strength. He demonstrates how attributes like water, wind, earth, and fire are absorbed, and warns that neglecting rest weakens a magician. The tests begin, with Alfie at the forefront. He invokes the dragon within, unleashing power, but the reinforced board does not break. He tries again, considering advanced techniques, yet still fails. His frustration mounts while Zest denies every request for extra chances. Reese, standing among the students, is reminded sharply not to overdo it himself. Barca, who harbors jealousy toward Reese, seizes the moment to provoke him. He issues a sudden duel challenge, but Reese brushes it aside, unwilling to waste time. Their exchange leaves tension lingering in the air. Later, Reese, Alfie, Lotas, and Muriel find themselves at a famous sweets shop. Lured by a buffet ticket, Reese proudly waves. The shop is crowded, the line stretching out the door, but the group manages to secure seats. Alfie also reveals that he shared his recipes at that shop. For a moment, Reese's mood lightens, with Muriel declaring her love for sweets as well as Reese, Lotus sulking at her enthusiasm, and Reese scheming ways to skip the line. Yet shadows follow them. Kadena, disguised in plain clothes, watches from a distance, calling Reese her mortal enemy. Her wind magic conceals her presence, but a strange little girl's sharp eyes almost give her away. As she prepares an ambush, Reese turns back and senses the strike just in time and blocks it. He considers Barca attacked him. Chaos erupts. Barca appears again, seething with rage, grabbing Reese by the tie and demanding the duel he was promised. The crowded street grows tense, but Lotus urges calm, reminding them that innocents surround them. Barca refuses to listen and lashes out, only to be stopped by a firm grip on his arm. The man who intervenes is no ordinary bystander. He is a royal guard. Barca protests his lineage, but his words hold no weight. The guards beat him down, swelling his face with blows, while Reese is left both relieved and unsettled. The guards then turn to Reese, acknowledging his effort in controlling the damage with defensive magic, and request his presence at the guard station to explain what happened. Reese, though unwilling, has no choice but to comply. As he is led away, he mocks Barca one last time, promising that their score will be settled in a duel another day.
Here I am,